Welcome back, dear students. This is your Professor Joe again to our continuing journey through the roots of philosophy. Today, we meet one of the most iconic and mysterious figures in all of Western thought, a man who never wrote a single book but changed the course of intellectual history forever. His name is Socrates. To know Socrates is to understand the heartbeat of philosophy itself. The Life of Socrates, a short autobiography. Socrates was born around 470 BCE in Athens, during a time of political glory and cultural transformation. His father was a stonemason, and his mother was a midwife, a detail he would later turn into a powerful metaphor for his life's mission. He was not born into wealth or nobility. He lived modestly, walked barefoot, and wore simple clothes. But what set him apart was his mind, his insatiable hunger for truth. Socrates served as a soldier in the Peloponnesian War and was known for his bravery and discipline. He also married a woman named Xanthippe, with whom he had 3 sons. Stories describe her as sharp-tempered, and Socrates himself once joked that living with her was excellent preparation for engaging the public in debate. He never called himself a teacher in the formal sense, yet he profoundly influenced many, especially his student Plato, who would go on to write philosophical dialogues with Socrates as the central character. Without Plato, we would know very little about Socrates at all. Second Socrates and the agora, philosophy in the marketplace. Rather than teach in a school, Socrates walked the streets and philosophized in the agora, Athens' bustling marketplace, a hub of ideas and commerce. Here, among merchants, artisans, politicians, and young men, Socrates posed questions that made people uncomfortable. What is justice? What is virtue? Can we know what is good? What is the meaning of life? He didn't lecture, he questioned. And through questioning, he helped people examine their own beliefs. 3. The Socratic method. Asking our way to truth. Socrates believed that true wisdom begins in recognizing our ignorance. He claimed to know nothing and used that humility as a starting point to uncover deeper truths. His method, now known as the Socratic method, is a process of asking carefully crafted questions to expose contradictions, test assumptions, and encourage clear thinking. It is a dialogue, not a debate, where both speaker and listener grow in understanding. Socrates often feigned ignorance to draw out knowledge from his interlocutors. This technique is known as Socratic irony, pretending not to know in order to help others discover their own inconsistencies. In this way, he described himself as a midwife of truth, not giving birth to ideas himself, but helping others to deliver the ideas already pregnant in their minds. Just as a midwife assists in childbirth, Socrates believed that truth is born through questioning. The Oracle of Delphi and Socrates the Gadfly. One day, a friend of Socrates asked the Oracle of Delphi, "Who is the wisest man in Athens?" The oracle responded, "Socrates." This puzzled Socrates. He believed he knew nothing. But after investigating and questioning the so-called wise men of Athens, poets, craftsmen, politicians, he realized they thought they knew, but did not. By contrast, Socrates knew that he did not know, and that made him wiser. He concluded that the oracle was right, and that he had a divine mission to awaken others, to stir them from ignorance. He called himself a gadfly, a tiny insect that stings the great horse of the state to keep it alert and alive. His questions were his sting, and Athens was the sleeping horse. By his words, his enemies, especially the sophists, were unhappy towards him. He was then tried in their plaza and sentenced to die. The Apology of Plato narrated this trial, and it showed how Socrates defended himself, finding the accusers' contradictions. B. The trial of Socrates, accusations and defense. Eventually, Socrates' relentless questioning made powerful enemies. In 399 BCE, he was brought to trial by Miletus, Lycon, and Anytus, three citizens representing poets, rhetoricians, and politicians. The charges: corrupting the youth of Athens, impiety, not believing in the city's gods, and introducing new ones. Socrates defended himself in a speech later recorded by Plato in the Apology. He did not beg for mercy. He stood firm, explaining that his actions were not criminal, but essential. He was fulfilling a duty to the gods and to his fellow citizens by helping them examine their lives. He famously declared, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Rather than back down, Socrates chose to die rather than stop philosophizing. He was found guilty and sentenced to death by drinking hemlock. Calm and composed, he accepted his fate, confident that death was either a peaceful sleep or a journey to a better place where he might continue to ask questions. Sixth, the legacy of Socrates. Though Socrates wrote nothing, his impact is immeasurable. Through Plato, his ideas echo across centuries and civilizations. He taught us, first, to value critical thinking over blind belief. Second, to seek clarity, precision, and depth in our understanding. Third, that dialogue, not domination, is the path to wisdom. Lastly, that philosophy is not a luxury, but a way of living meaningfully. In Socrates, we find a man who put the soul above the body, truth above popularity, and reason above rhetoric. He did not teach facts, he taught us how to think, a lesson that remains as vital today as ever. 7 takeaways for reflection. As you close this chapter, reflect on these questions. Do you live an examined life, or one shaped by routine and assumption? What beliefs do you hold that deserve deeper questioning? How might you use the Socratic method in your daily conversations, not to win arguments, but to pursue understanding? What does it mean to be wise, not in knowing everything, but in recognizing your limits? Socrates teaches us that philosophy is not about having all the answers. It's about learning to ask the right questions. So let us continue this journey, not as passive learners, but as seekers, as midwives of our own truths, ready to be stirred by the gadfly of reason. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in our next session.